They're not pretty?
nicely. And making sure that those are the ones that we're hitting them with all the time.
But the other thing I might do is find the area of the dark area.
I do the opposite.
Do the opposite, they're going to have to find section A, subtract that from the total area. And so they should see, okay, I have an area of a rectangle here, and now I have an area of a triangle, and I have to subtract.
So if there's something like that in class, something like that.
So do we want to just kind of keep plopping them in? Because, and I figure, especially when we get to that surface area piece, they're going to have to keep working with triangles, like they're going to have to keep doing it. So do we think it's just, like Jen said, just an increased practice opportunity?
I think it
In this
is,
situation.
And I think so too.
but I think with images that aren't standard.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Let's look at number 2.
Okay. Any errors that I had in number 2
Thank
were
you.
Yeah, way
because,
bigger.
That's okay, it's old people.
were because they took that 10-yard base and just did that as the base instead of thinking about the decomposing part and putting it onto the top.
And really, because I'm looking at, because 10 yards is this measurement.
Correct. And they did that.
Instead of the height.
They did the height, mine did the height, they added the 2 together, but they multiplied it by 10 instead of decomposing and moving that up to the top to make it a
Gotcha.
rectangle.
Gotcha. And mine, because it was broken apart so that they could decompose nicely, I had some that just started multiplying all the numbers. Like
Yeah.
they took everything they knew and threw it out the window when it was presented this way.
Yeah, now, I had kids that would add to the base, but then multiply by 8 and then multiply by 10.
Yeah.
So you get the proper baseline, but then they,
So it just, I feel like, I don't know what I feel like.
And I feel like they just need more practice.
Need more practice? Okay, and again, since all of this is going to be leading right up to surface area, they're going to have to continue doing these things. I think I agree. I don't think it's a complete misunderstanding or any real misconceptions. It's just not solid with the work yet. All right, number 3. Do you guys feel the same thing?
This one was just, I found that they were trying to do all the little parts, but if they missed one little thing, it threw the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it was just the attention to detail.
and in all honesty, you know, if the image was a little bit bigger, maybe easier to work with, because a lot of the kids are trying to write their stuff inside these boxes. And it was a small image, so if we could either make a larger image or expand this one out, so there's some room to write inside there. Because a lot of them were just doing that to make sure they got each piece.
And I have a question about it, straight up question, because, and honestly, I didn't see it until my kids, so one of my girls brought it up to me during the quiz, and she said, like, they know the base is 4. She's like, what is the height?
They have to use the 4 on the bottom,
Uh-huh.
and then the one on the side is just.
So many of them used that, because it's not 5,
Right.
it's 4 actually, but so many of them used this 5 to find the right answer.
Is it 4 or is it 3? It should be 3.
3, that's what I meant, 3. Because it's the 2 from here and the 1 from here. And I think, again, the image is so small, they were like,
Yeah.
is this box a 1? Is that whole thing a 1?
Right.
See, that would have been my question as well, with the 1 inch on the left, is that box?
Right, because a lot of mine were asking, like, they were thinking this was like a square inch.
Yeah.
And and I had them like trying to draw like square inches the same, like, no. So is it a misconception or is it just a bad image? Do we need
I think it's a
to,
bad image.
so we need to make note to replace this for the
Draw-
for the basics, take the quiz?
We could draw a different one.
Yeah,
It's gonna
same
be
type
similar,
thing,
in all honesty, I think we can get rid of those.
Yeah,
That's
get
gonna
rid of
be-
the squares?
We can just, I think that would be helpful, or if they'll be drawn long enough, we really need to get the fact that this is at the right angle.
Uh-huh,
But we're working with right triangles, so they should.
right. And, or we could just put note, all triangles are right triangles, just like put that note, like an asterisk and note it at the bottom in case they question it. All right. And then 4, I didn't have a lot of issues with 4. Mine, pretty much, other than I had some decompose it in a way that the measurements didn't work. Like they split it this way. And when they split it that way, you don't have, well, oh, you do have it. Which way was it? Yeah. No, they put it out that way too. I don't remember.
They
No,
just
but
didn't see it.
they just weren't, they weren't seeing it and finding the right
I did
dimension
have
when
a
they
couple
split.
split it up
Uh-huh.
that way and still do a 3 times 2. I think
Yes.
it's just, again,
Just need more
Attention to
practice of
detail.
actually, yeah, that's a good point, the attention to detail, that's a lot of it that's missing here. But most of mine got this one, which is oddly what I spent the least amount of time on. I'm like, made me feel great. So we're just gonna agree that as long as we just keep giving them opportunities to practice these same skills, I don't think we're seeing any major misconceptions.
No.
All right. Let's look at this one, which was equally as wonderful.
Oh, can I just write it down?
Yeah, that's fine. So, we'll go question by question. This one covered 2 standards. It was the 1.3 and the 1.4. I know the 1.4 is the properties, using properties. Am I right or am I backwards? I always flip these two. Let's see.
it's using properties and combining like terms. Is that a true question?
Which standard is which? I was just looking at the two. So 1.3 is using properties. 1.4 is identifying the equivalent. All right. So number 1, what were you guys seeing?
5x plus
5x
x.
plus
5x plus x. I saw it so many times.
Or 5x plus 1. You just drop the x and just put 1.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see the 1. I saw a lot of 5x plus x.
I think with this one again, it's the verbiage. So we did a lot of combining like terms, but not actually using the words
Fewest terms.
fewest terms. So then when they saw that, they know how to do it. And if I question them, they can fix it. But knowing that using the fewest terms is the same as combining them all that
Right.
are alike.
And I know I did to take for a reteach, because a lot of what I saw was just for the quiz itself was a lot of just lack of paying attention to detail. And so for my reteach, I didn't even really do much of a reteach. It was more of a, like for the first one I go, is that the fewest number of terms you can get? And they'd go, oh, that could be 6x. And then they would do it and I would give them the credit for the reteach.
Yeah, but then I want to ask him, well, why wouldn't you combine that? What were any thoughts on that? Why wouldn't you got that?
And you know, I didn't
X and
ask. That's a good
X?
question.
What made you stop?
I think with some of them, it's because it doesn't have a number in front of it, whereas we discussed that one is there.
Right. And I've seen that a lot. Like they don't see the
Exactly.
3x and the 2x. They see those as like terms. They're not seeing that
They're not
as
seeing
a
the
like
coefficient.
term
Alright.
because there's no number
Coefficient.
there.
So that's the
Exactly.
clarification. We have to clarify that when there's a coefficient with the variables determine the
Right.
likeness of the term.
And I've had that conversation, but for some reason,
It's not
there's
sticking.
so many of them that they just see that x as a whole nother
And
being.
the fact that the coefficient that's not there is actually a 1.
Right, and we've
Just
talked
like a
about that.
decimal. We don't put a decimal in the whole number, but it's there.
Right. And we talked about that, but for some reason it's just not solidified. So I think just keep reminding them of that as we continue to work with variables. All right, number 2. Simplify the expression, rewrite it using the fewest terms. I had so many kids that try to use distributed property for this, which works if they keep going and they do it
Right.
correctly. Instead of combining those terms in the thing. But again, I got a lot of 24x plus 4x or 24x plus x. So they still weren't seeing that connection of when there's just a variable without a coefficient written in front of it.
Right. So the focus would be making sure that they know that a lack of coefficient means 1.
Right.
There's a variable.
Right, and just keep giving them work like that. All right, so I think the big misconception here is that variable without the coefficient, that it still is part of the same little world as all the others. Because I know you use the color blocks. And did they see just one block as being
Yes.
just a variable?
They could do that with the blocks. They would say, okay, I've got 2 reds, so that's 2R, and 1 red, so that's an R. They would do that when we were using the blocks, but then it didn't transfer over.
It didn't
to when we
transfer
took
over.
the blocks away.
Okay. Because I may try to do a reteach with the blocks because I didn't use them,
Well,
but I
good.
may try to reteach with it with
And
those
I think
that
I'd
really
still pull them
need.
back out for the reteach and kind of hit that part that even though there's only one of them, it still has that coefficient 1. And I don't, even if they want to see, if we go through the practice and when I see a variable by itself, get in the habit of putting a 1 there just so they visually see that 1.
That's not a bad idea.
Would it be possible to write the number on paper and put your block next to it as the variable? Say this is 3 and this is here's my coefficient, here's my variable. And the last one, you just have that one variable without the coefficient. And when you combine your like terms, you think they might see it then?
I'm not sure what your question.
Because you're putting 2 red blocks, and these are your coefficients. 2 is.
And then the color identified the variable.
Right,
Uh-huh.
but I'm saying write the actual physical number down and just use 1 block as your variable. So if I have 3, you're going up to number 1, if I have the number 3 and a red block, 2 and a red block, and then a red block, now combine your like terms, would they see that
Like-
just be?
Is that kind of what you're thinking, but with the block
Yeah,
next to
yeah,
it?
exactly.
So like if they had a 2x
Yeah.
plus,
Would that, I wonder if that would,
and then would they see that there is still one block
I
there?
almost think that
You
if
have
we
to do-
start, like if it's a reteach with the kids that we really, really, really have to start backward with, it's starting with the blocks and then moving into this part.
Like writing
To
it?
kind of scaffold it away. So yeah.
So like actually
starting-
giving them the 3 blocks, the 2 blocks, the 1 block, and say combine it. Now write what you're doing, like match the blocks to.
Not right what you're doing. We did that anyway. We were right what
Okay.
we were doing because we'd show it with the blocks and with math. But then after we seemed like we're having it with a full concrete block way to kind of move into that. So it's a little more abstract and then we can get rid of the blocks completely, hopefully.
And just replace it with a variable.
Okay.
I like it. I like it. But were you guys getting that either the 24x plus x or plus 4x or
Oh, yeah.
20? I got a lot of 25x.
I did
I got a
too.
lot of 25x because they're just
Yep.
they're
Oh, okay.
they're
Yep.
using distributed property to multiply it here.
Mm-hmm.
But for
just
some
adding-
reason they're not connecting it down here, which is the same exact thing that I saw here.
Right.
so what they're doing in 2, they're noticing that's 1x, but they don't see that 1x on 1.
Apparently. There is no rhyme or reason to some of these little darlings. All right. So in 3, I think I was seeing the same thing, because I think mine automatically, when they saw this it written in this format, they just go straight for distributed property. They weren't even looking inside of the parentheses to see, so they were using distributed property in both places.
For number 3, I also had a good bit that combined unlike terms. So
Yes.
We
Yes.
would take the 15Z and the 6, and they would get that part,
And
but
21Z.
then combine them.
21Z.
Yeah.
I was like, oop. And I did question some of them, like, why did you combine these things? And they're like, oh, I thought I had to have an answer.
Yes.
They're stuck on having
An
an
answer.
answer. But why they weren't stuck on having an answer for number 1, I don't know. But I had a lot of them. I'm like, they had all the work. It was beautiful all the way down, and then 21Z, and I'm like, so, but like I said, a lot of them said, well, I thought I had to have just that one answer. So I think we just need to keep addressing it, and that's that precision and that detail.
Right.
With number 4, I would say I had a good majority that got number 4, and the ones that got it wrong gave me C. Because because they've gotten so used to just combining and not paying attention to the
Right.
sign, instead of 14 minus 5, they did 14 plus
Yep.
5. That to me is very fixable.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Like,
those
I
are the
don't
only
feel
2
like it's
answers
something I
got.
need to spend a lot of time on. I would just show them, I'd look back and go, well, that's a 14 and that's a minus 5, and they're like, oh, that's 9. Oh, that's D. Like,
Right.
that was a quick pickup for a lot of them. And then there's number 5.
Yeah, there's number 5.
There's number 5. They forgot how to add fractions.
Yeah. The one to multiply.
Yeah,
the
I
one
did
to
have
everything
some
but
add the
math.
denominators.
I also had a lot, and I mean like a trend across all my classes that left the variable out completely. And they gave me 3/5
I did
plus
have some
2.
of that. I did
I
have
mean, so they had a complete understanding of everything, but they just left the X off. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was carelessness, but it wasn't just a couple. I mean, there was a lot that left that X out, that variable out, and I don't know why.
I think it was because they had so much emphasis on
The fraction, they were
that they
forgot.
totally forgot about that
There
aspect
is,
of it.
I
Break them out.
still
Like,
feel strongly,
Exactly.
and it goes back to the precision, but I still feel that they're very used to the thinking when we're thinking in class or doing anything task-wise, but when it gets to that independent piece, they're not doing the thinking in their own brain. So whenever we have like a fraction like this, they can equate it, because I always use the pizza, so we can equate it to pizza and they can tell me, but then they're not doing that same thing in their brain.
Right.
At the
The
independent
strategies.
time.
They're not applying the strategies.
Correct.
I'm finding that too. I don't know how to fix that. I have yet to figure out how to climb inside their brain
I know.
and do it, make it work. I don't know. And then number 6.
I got some of the 40Xs again, they would just combine everything.
I had very few of those. I had the majority of mine marked 1. I don't know that there was anybody that didn't mark the top one, which was the most like what they've been doing.
They didn't do the select all. They saw one answer, boom, I'm done.
Right. And I think if that would not have been the first option, things might have been different. but I think I had everybody select that one, and I had a good number because we talked about with select alls just trying them all. So I had the first two. I had a lot of people that gave me that third one.
Yeah, I had
A lot of people that gave me that
first,
third
they
one.
got the first and the third one. They picked both. I'm going, how is that possible?
Right, and it's just again that precision. Like like they see 4x's, they're like, well, it's got to be x to the 4. Like, and so we had a lot of conversation of, is 4x the same as x to the 4th power? And then I'll be like, yeah, it is. And then I say, okay, right, what is 4x happening? And they would write x plus x plus x plus x, and then they would do x times x. They would write them out, and then they would still tell me they were the same thing. And I'm like, but and then we would put numbers in there. And when I put numbers in there instead of a variable, but I'm like, they're not doing that
Right.
when you put it in front of them on paper. They're not going
They're
that
not
far.
problem solving, they're not.
No, they're perfectly happy with, okay, that's close enough to the right answer. I'm just going to go with that and move on. Good enough. So, moving forward, Marty did notice that on Monday on our lesson plan, it's completely open. I don't know what happened to that.
Free day?
It's a, yes, it's a free day.
okay.
Kim
It's
Day is a free day.
it's a free day.
Because it's actually President's Day, and in years past we've had it off. This year we don't.
So, like, I mean, as I scroll through, where are we at?
2:20 now.
2:20, yeah.
What we have for you?
We just have
It's a work day, show me shorts.
Great.
I'm not sure what happened when I was typing. So it kind of leads to a great opportunity because we have that Tuesday as a reteach, because we have giving the formative on Friday for this next piece of writing and solving equations. Are you guys comfortable moving forward with that and giving it Friday and then using Monday as going back for both formatives, the 3 and the 4, the pieces
Yeah.
we were just talking about, and whatever happens with this formative?
It'd be a great opportunity.
You want to use that day to completely go back and pull some small groups, do some reteach, some tier 2 work?
Yeah, because we're still caught up where we need to be. It's not
Yeah.
like we're losing a day.
Yeah, very rarely do we find an extra day. Like, that never happens. So what kind of things, I'm just going to like plop them in here and then I'll send it back out. What kinds of things, because I know we're going to be working on 1, 3, 1, 4, oh, that should be a 4, 2, 7. So what kinds of things, do you guys have some ideas? I like the reteach, combining like terms with the blocks again.
Okay. I need blocks.
We have blocks.
Okay.
Okay.
I like the idea of doing that. Do you guys have some other ideas of what we could be doing? Like with,
For basic still?
for basics, yeah. Like
Because
going back to
Each
looking
one
at,
of those, we have to, well, let's look at the test.
Well, I mean, because we have to hit the properties too, so not just the combining, but also really the distributive property.
could we like use the blocks for that too and actually physically move pieces? Like we're looking at a
So how would
commutative
you use
property?
The commutative, you could.
Yeah.
And mine, it got pretty good with the associative. It's for me, it's the distributive, which I'm not sure how to use the blocks for.
I'm not sure how we would use blocks. Well, and I guess what we could do is build a 5Z and have a 2. Oh, I don't know. I still don't know how that would work.
Well, if you draw, like I had, you draw the 5, put a block next to it, here's your variable, and multiply it by the outside, and you have the 2 without the variable.
And actually
write the
physically
numbers
use
on it.
blocks to multiply them. So if you have 3 times 5Z, that's really that 3 times 5, and that physically multiplying that out and then showing that it has to. I just don't know how to make the connection to it has to happen to both pieces.
Right, because we did the ice cream.
Yeah, I talked about the ice cream, and if, as soon
Everybody
as I
gets ice cream.
say
We did Skittles. I did Skittles because I had them up and we showed the distributive property that everybody gets the Skittles. Can I leave this kid out? No, everybody gets them. We did that.
right, and if I say like if I go back to here and a kid's stuck and I say, what about the ice cream model?
Right.
And they all go, oh,
Right.
and then they can do it. But I
Right.
don't know how to get them to have those conversations with themselves
In their brain.
In their
Well,
brains.
Maybe at each table, you have someone teach it. Say, how would you teach this? And you have someone at each table, just then, okay, let me teach my table. You grab your first 4 or 5 kids that come in, and I wanna go over this with you real fast, as everybody else is doing something else. What I want you to do is teach your tables this and go over it with them, and if
So
you're
we can
comfortable
have
with them,
some peer tutors.
yeah, then have them try and teach. Maybe they'll pick it up that way. And then maybe they
So-
change teaching. Okay, what did he say? Now it's your turn. You get up over here, you move to that table and teach that group.
So maybe just keep the whiteboards and markers and things at the table so that,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And I think I may have some copies of this actual quiz back out, like some blank copies at each table. And use these problems and take all the strategies that we've been using in class and apply them with these. And then I do have some kids that have it. Like I have kids that don't need the reteach. So I think for them, I'm just gonna have to find some enrichment activities. I mean, they could be my peer, but some of them I'm not great at being, you know, peer tutors because they're more of the answer givers. They're not really teaching anything.
Well, and something that I did, like I told you with one of my kiddos was the one that had it. I had him create a new quiz.
Oh, I like that.
So then, when these kids want to retake it, I've already got the quiz made up, but he did that.
I
So
believe
I've
in
already
his
got,
handwriting too.
right, I've got it in his
One of the
handwriting.
things I gave you this morning is that, those questions on another handout.
Okay.
I gave her copies of the ones that we made up.
Gotta get a copy of Isaiah's.
Yes.
And then for enrich, I like the idea of creating an alternative quiz. All right.
For getting them to see the distributive, would it be appropriate to show them that this is actually the same as this?
Oh, that's not
Would that help
bad.
them recognize this aspect of it?
That's not a bad idea. She's got it to where she's actually broken it into the repeated addition. She's taken that expression and repeated it 3
But I don't
times.
know if that would
But will
confuse
they,
them.
will they confuse and make it 3 Z's then, or Z cubed?
No.
like
I mean, that sounds really bad, but I don't think they would, because we've never taught that. I don't think they would go there, because it's adding. You're adding 5 Z's plus another 5 Z's plus another 5 Z's. So
If
if,
they would have to recognize that this is multiplication.
and that
then
you
it's
really,
repeated addition.
everything in the parenthesis is being repeated. I like that idea.
That's a good idea.
I'm gonna figure out how I can get that in the notes. I'm just gonna type that.
Are you gonna type it? I'm gonna take a picture.
Yeah, I'm just gonna type it so it's here. That's why having multiple people is so nice, because I would never have seen it that way. Like, I don't even visualize it that way.
Or blinded by our knowledge.
That's it.
And I was fortunate.
Oh. Nope.
Gonna race the rest of the days. All right.
I'm just trying to give us some days off, guys. Sorry.
Then it's going back into writing equivalent expressions, because that's an equivalent expression to what we had.
Uh-huh. And it's just showing it one more way. I
Right.
like it.
Because it's the same as doing, right, give me another equivalent expression to this.
All right. Oh, I want to put that all up here, though, in the reteach. All right. So that's just one more. So I think we've got some different ways to look at. Let me go back and look. Oh, wrong one. Because I think with these others, and then I think I may do just a general reteach of adding and subtracting fractions. Because that I found was a piece that it's not that they completely lacked knowledge, but it's been so long since they've had to do anything with it that they're forgetting. Like, they're so hung up in our current skill that they're forgetting these past pieces.
I'd do that too, but I'd leave a variable attached to it.
Yeah. And then I might even, because I'm a glutton for punishment, venture into unlike denominators, because I have a feeling that's how it's going to be presented to them at some point. And they need to know how to do it. It's all skills.
Comfort level.
Yeah. It's going to make them uncomfortable because they were uncomfortable with it in 5th grade, and we know that. So.
Let's punish them then. Here's unlike denominators.
There was some of that in the homework too, over the past day or two that we were doing.
All right, do you guys have any other ideas for those?
You go back to the quiz.
I keep going back to that one. I don't want to go back to that one. There we go. Because I think this one and that one, like, they kind of, you're going to be doing similar things. And it's going back to those properties.
Mhm.
And I think with these, even having like, which I've made before, like index cards that just have random terms on them and giving them to them and saying, like, combine them like, in different ways. Like rearranging them, putting them together. Like, I think going back to as concrete as we can get with them would be helpful. Does that sound like a plan?
Mhm.
You guys have anything else we want to? Oh, totally going off the math topic. I got a response from Nyland about headphones. She said never has she told them they have to have headphones for her class. That is not true. They are using her as a scapegoat.
I also, I
nice.
do have a question about that. Did we decide on a date that we're actually going to present the information?
By next Friday?
Or do you want to do it Monday as part of a reach each day?
Oh, good idea. Use part of it for that. Okay, that works. We can do the BYOD on Monday. All right.
Can you put that in there, because I'll forget. I will. I use these.
That's amazing.
You read my notes?
Huh?
Exactly.
I
All the
do read your
I sent
notes,
you
but
do?
but if it's not on this,
The notes.
I don't attend.
Here, I'm gonna bold it and I'm gonna
Where's that
I'm
bus
gonna
that's
make it
driving
red. for you, Marty. It's bold and in red.
Okay.
Does that make you happy?
I'll have to print it off in red, but yes.
All right. Do you guys have anything else we need to look at? No?
Not on that one.
I think we're good.
All right.
Go team. I
We're
will
gonna
send
use-
this off right
We're
now.
gonna use